A lot of DJs around the world have a special place in their heart for the Spanish manufacturer Ecler. Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, they made a whole bunch of DJ mixers, which always had fantastic sound quality, and they really earned their stripes on the turntablism scene with the Hack series of battle mixers. A few years ago, they pulled out of the DJ market altogether, before making something of a major comeback with the Warm 2 rotary mixer in 2022. This year, to celebrate 20 years of their NUO series of mixers, they've released a new one which is updated but also retains much of what made those earlier models so special, the NUO 4.0F. I've never really considered this before, but it's quite funny how the DJ tech world never really does like updates of retro gear. As this shot implies, I'm quite into old action figures, and both of those on screen now have been reissued or reimagined countless times since their initial release. Of course, on the digital side of things in particular, DJ technology is constantly evolving, but with some products like analog mixers, the fundamentals of what makes a good one never really change. So it kind of warmed my heart when Ecler announced the NUO 4.0F, which celebrates the 20th anniversary of the release of the original NUO series of mixers. Those were always analog at their core, but did have some nods to digital DJing. The reason I bought my NUO 4 back in 2008 was to use the MIDI assignable faders with Mix Emergency. Speaking of that mixer, you can see in a side-by-side how the lineage of it continues with the 4.0F. The overall design language is very similar, although the layout of the 4.0F has more in common with the 4.0 model, which came later. The NUO series never really went away. To this day, Ecler still offer the NUO 2.0, which I've encountered in many people's setups over the years. And as the YouTube channel Mixers Inside showed through his technical comparison video recently, the company's more recent products like the Warm 2 actually have a whole lot of similarities with those older NUOs. Which does make a lot of sense. Unless you're adding a lot of digital bells and whistles, then when it comes to analog mixers, it's really a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's kind of what we're seeing here with the NUO 4.0F, which has some more modern touches when it comes to layout and controls, but still retains much of what made those older models great. There are some new features to bring the NUO line into the new generation, the most notable of which is a pair of assignable filters, which can be switched between high and low pass options and have circuits to prevent pops on activation. I'll demo those for you shortly. The mixer has a street price of a little under €1,200, which puts it comfortably below what I'd say is its nearest fader-based competitor, the Zone 92 Mark II at $1,500. So it's not a budget mixer by any stretch, but all Ecler mixers are made at the company's facilities in Barcelona. That's pretty unusual and must be fairly costly for them, but I really appreciate that the company still do everything in-house in Europe. Before we go any further, we have to talk about the pots. As with the Warm series, and indeed all other Ecler mixers, yes, they do have a bit of movement to them. They are metal pots on here, not plastic, that's what Ecler spec on 4-channel models, but they do indeed still have that small amount of flex. Here's the thing though, I got a long email from an engineer at Ecler in the run-up to this review explaining why that is. Things about how not screwing the pots to the chassis and using PCB reinforcement towers is better for robustness and longevity. The point being, they know that some people find this disconcerting. They know that folks will complain about it. And they are still doing things this way because Ecler firmly believe from an engineering standpoint, it's the best way to do things on these mixers. And so I have nothing but respect for them standing by that decision. If pots which aren't completely locked down solid make you feel uncomfortable, then yeah, this mixer is not for you. But as I've said in previous reviews, it's never been an issue for me. In general, the build quality of the 4.0F feels very good. They use genuine Alps pots everywhere and the full metal chassis is reassuringly solid. The brushed aluminium faceplate looks great and they do offer the 4.0F in a very fetching silver finish as well as the black, which should appeal to lovers of the Silver Technics 1200s. I've always been happy with the build of Ecler mixers. That NUO 4 I showed you earlier still works fine after all these years and they've never really changed how they do things to this day. Ecler may have stuck to their guns on the pots, but they have definitely heard the voice of users in other areas. Firstly, the 4.0F has a master insert as well as the regular send and return, which means that owners of effects units like the RMX 1000 and RMX 500 can now make use of those devices without phasing. You won't be able to assign them to a channel, but that's really a limitation of the routing on those units. You could also, as I'd be more inclined to, easily add on an external isolator. They've also listened when it comes to queuing, and now we have a split queue switch, which I was delighted to see. And not just one, as is the trend right now. The 4.0F features 2 separate queue circuits for back-to-back sets, both of which have the same full feature set. When it comes to the rest of the connectivity, everything is on point here. All 4 channels have separate switchable line and phono inputs, with channel 3 adding an extra pair of RCAs for an aux input, and channel 4 adding a mic input on the top panel with a combo jack and XLR socket. You have the aforementioned master insert on 1/4-inch jacks, and the send and return is on RCAs. For outputs, you have master and booth, both with balanced XLRs and unbalanced RCAs. I personally prefer jacks for the booth output, just for convenience, but I know lots of other people, hi Cleveland, who are happier with XLRs on there instead. There's also a handy pair of RCAs for the record output on the top panel, and the power supply is internal with an IEC connector, and as I always say, that is my preference. Before we get to the demo, we need to talk about the Crossfader. The warm mixers don't have one, so this is Ecler's first model to feature one in a long time. The 4.0F proudly announces that it's eternal fader compatible on the top panel, but what that means is it doesn't have one fitted as standard. So this is very much a double-edged sword. That magnetic eternal fader is really dope and cherished by many turntablists, but as an upgrade, that's almost a €200 fader. The Zone 92 Mark II has an inner fader mini pre-installed, so if you value having a great crossfader, suddenly the cost advantage the NUO has is wiped out. The stock fader in the 4.0F isn't bad by any means, but it's certainly not up there with the Eternal or an inner fader. As you'll see, the mixer has a lot of controls for the crossfader, so I can't help but feel this is a slightly missed opportunity. Right, quick demo of the features here on the 4.0F. Not a whole lot to talk about because it is just a mixer, right? That's what it is. No digital bells and whistles, it's a mixer. But a few things we should look at. So first of all, the up faders are very important on a mixer like this. Ecler have gone for quite a loose feeling fader. If you're looking for that real heavyweight feel, you won't find that here, but I think that's sensible on a mixer like this, which is going to appeal to a lot of maybe techno DJs and stuff, so you can really throw these things in and out. Nice and quick. And they don't feel cheap, you know, they're just light. Very much like the Ecler faders of old. And they do last as well, you know, they're very durable faders that Ecler always spec. They're 60mm long, so nice long faders. And you have quite intricate fader shape adjustment, the curve adjustment. You can adjust it independently for channels 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. You can go from this gradual curve that I prefer, all the way through to a real kind of sharper cut, and then anywhere in between. I like them fully anti-clockwise like that. Yeah, really good. Like these faders a lot. Now we get to the crossfader, which, you know, I've already pointed out is a bit disappointing. There's no eternal fader in there as standard. This feels like very much a standard fader that's in here. Nonetheless, you have got curve control, again, continuous curve control, so you can go from a gradual blend right up to a sharp cut. You've then got the reverse button. There is no reverse for the up faders, so if you're fully hamster, this is not going to work for you. But you can reverse that as well. Obviously, you can assign each channel, you know, left and right anyway. And then you've got the cut-in adjustment here as well at the bottom, which is really quite clever. If you go fully clockwise, it basically turns the fader off. Then you kind of get to your cut-in point that you want and then dial it back until you get to that point. And now we have a very sharp cut right there, a very short cut-in distance, which is really cool, right? Except this is quite a delicate little dial, and I would be concerned about hitting that during the, you know, when I'm playing, I'm performing, I'm moving around, I'm adjusting the cue and everything else. I would be a little bit concerned that I might knock that because it's quite precise, you know, this control. It's easy enough to adjust it back in, but you know, during a gig, you know, I'm not quite sure. So I would have preferred that the cut-in adjustment was above the reverse, so it's just a bit more out of the way. That would have made me a bit happier. The other thing as well is we have got these 2 screw holes either side, and because they're directly into the aluminium faceplate, it's a little bit sharp feeling. It's not the nicest feeling to kind of be getting your fingers in there next to those. It's not like a nightmare, But yeah, it's just not quite as nice. You know, Ecler obviously know how to do a battle mixer front panel. This isn't a battle mixer. But it is a bit strange that you've got these, you know, really precise cut-in adjustment, the potential to put the eternal fader in there, and then they've just kind of left these two holes there. So I don't know, it's a bit, yeah. It's a mixed bag when it comes to the crossfader. Certainly I think a lot of people buying this mixer won't care about the crossfader at all. And if so, fair enough. But it's one of those where it's kind of almost there, but not quite. So yeah, we have the assignment switches for that, up above, X, Y, and off. Then we have the filter assign. We'll get to the filters separately in a minute. Then we have the Q buttons, the PFL buttons for each of the two Q circuits. And these are identical, right? So you have a button for each channel and for the effects return and for the master. You've then got a split Q on both. You've got both sizes of headphone jack, and you've got a level control, loads of headroom on that, goes really loud. And you've got a Q master blend. So honestly, like, I can't really say there's anything I'm let down by there at all. I think this is a very comprehensive Q circuit, and you've got two of them. So I'm very happy with that, all good there. The Q buttons do light up as you like them, and they're slightly different color as well. Got the green and the white LEDs on those. So yeah, overall, yeah, very, very happy with the queuing. Then we've got the effects send and return, which is kind of my ideal solution here, because you have a master insert you can use, but also we have pre or post fader selectable on each channel. We have a knob to bring it in, so there's never any clicking or popping or anything. Just bring it in. I've got my EFX 500 hooked up as always. And it's post fader because I'm set to post fader, so it's post fader and post crossfader as well. So it will work with whatever type of effects unit you have, you know. That's the beauty of a setup like this. Got that pre-fade if you want it. And then the effects return comes in on its own channel there, and again you can cue that and you can assign that to a filter, and you could just use that as like a fifth channel if you really wanted. So overall, very happy with that too. The EQs are great, very musical cutoff points, full cut and plus 10 dB boost on each. So you have a fair bit of boost available to you, and yeah, that full cut. I just think Ecler, you know, that's one of those things they always get right, is the EQs. Then we've got trim controls or gain controls up above for each channel. We have the separate level meters for each, as well as the master level meter. And I like the fact you can assign whether it's showing the master, the mix, or the booth output on the level meter there as well. So that's really useful. So your choice, run it how you like. Then we come back down then to these filters. And these are good quality filters, right? So you've got a level, frequency adjustment, and then you've got the resonance control up above. So right now we're assigned to filter A. We're set to high pass over here because either can be high or low pass. And then let's turn it on. And regular viewers will know that, you know, I'm very particular about having filters popping when they come in and out. This is not entirely like invisible or inaudible. There is something there, but it's not onerous. It's just like a tiny little kind of hiccup almost, very delicate, nothing onerous there at all. I'm happy with that. And the same applies really for the on and off switch too. But with these, you know, they don't really affect the sound too much. If you have the resonance set roughly in the middle, there's really not a lot of difference between the unfiltered sound and the filtered sound. So I would be tempted to just assign your filters and then just leave them there and leave them on all night, because they don't really negatively impact the sound. But yeah, let's hear the filters in action. We'll go soft first on the resonance. Right around to hard. And then in the middle. Not the most aggressive I've ever heard, but very pleasurable. Very happy with those. And then let's switch over to the low pass filter, which I've got over here. Again, we can have high or low pass on each side, doesn't matter. Okay, let's go over to that low pass. So that's that one in the middle. It's that one on soft. Very, very nice filters indeed. I would be tempted to run the resonance a bit higher than I might normally on other mixers because they are just that bit less aggressive. Yeah, very good quality, really nice sound on those. Then to finish us off, we've got the balance control for the output, left or right. We then have the stereo mono button, so we can go to mono. We have the booth output and the master output, and then above that we have the RCAs for the record output as well, readily accessible on top of the mixer. So yeah, overall, pretty straightforward, pretty simple, nothing that's going to get you confused. But at the same time, for a lot of people, that's going to be all they're going to need. I haven't talked about the sound yet, so let's do that now. The NUO 4.0F sounds, unsurprisingly, like an Ecler mixer. The company really weren't intending to reinvent the wheel here. Their mixers have always had a great analog sound, and that's what you get on the 4.0F too. I listened to a variety of sources on different speakers and was always very happy with the results. The phono preamps sound punchy but clean, cope well with different cartridges, both spherical and elliptical, and the summing, when you have multiple things playing at once, is really nice. The overall profile is neither overly excitable or ruthlessly transparent, falling somewhere in between. Again, if you want more technical information about the audio performance of these mixers, go watch that Mixers Inside video. But I can tell you from my perspective, having tested this thing for a few weeks, it sounds much like all of the other Ecler mixers I've ever used, and that is very much a compliment. So there you go, my thoughts on the NUO 4.0F. In some ways, this has felt like making an episode of Beatsource Retro Tech, because this model does throw back so strongly to that earlier generation of Ecler mixers. That's not to say that it feels outdated. It still has all the mod cons that I expect to see on any higher end analog mixer today, and it all works very well indeed. It's hard to think of anything in this category that really competes with it on cost. The Zone 92 Mark II and 96 are more expensive, and the Union Audio Elara 6 is nearly 3 times the price. I do appreciate that the company have stuck to their guns on how they do the pots, even though some users may find that disconcerting. And in the end, Ecler really do know how to produce mixers which sound fantastic, and the NUO 4.0F continues that legacy. So if you're looking for a well-made, great-sounding analog fader mixer, you won't go far wrong with this one. I feel like straightforward mixers don't get enough love from manufacturers these days, so in the comments, tell me which product category you feel deserves to get a bit more shine in 2026. And of course, let me know what you think of the NUO 4.0F. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Beatsource Tech. If you liked it, be sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss any future videos. And hey, if you haven't already, you can try Beatsource for free and join DJcity for just $10. All the links are down in the description. I'll see you next time.